Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to another MXGP Tech Talk with me, Paul Malin, where this week I'll also be joined by Lisa Leyland. But today's guest is from Pirelli, and we'll be talking everything from tyres to all things, including product range and the extensive racing service that Pirelli provide at every round of MXGP. But before we meet our first guest, who is Luca Barbetti, the Pirelli Global Racing Manager for the off-road platform, Lisa, your first Tech Talk on MXGP's virtual studio show here. What are you most looking forward to getting out of this one on a personal level?
Well, firstly, just to know a little bit more about the technical side of the sport, especially tyres. But I have, if I'm honest, heard a lot of people talk about mousses, and I don't really know what that means or what they're used for. So I'm hoping this Tech Talk will shed some light on that for me. So.
Okay, well, look, let's crack on with the show. And first up, let's meet Luca Barbetti. Luca, good to see you. I know you're there down in Italy, but how are you, first of all, and where exactly are you?
First of all, good afternoon to everyone. And strange to say, but I'm in the office. Incredible. Time to time, we're still allowed to be back to the office. And so now practically still 100% ready to start again the season soon.
Soon, like all of us, absolutely. Well, look, let's before we do start with the show and start talking in detail about Pirelli, let's take a quick look at a video of Pirelli in action. Here's a nice little video for you watching at home. Welcome back to our live Tech Talk here then, our MXGP Tech Talk and our virtual studio show with me, Paul Malin, Lisa Leyland, and in Italy from Pirelli, Luca Barbetti. And first of all, Luca, I guess we should say congratulations on another successful season last year where Tim Geiser, Jorge Prado helped Pirelli to, 72 world titles now? You must be more than delightful with the way things have been going recently.
Yes, for sure. It's a big achievement for Pirelli, everyone working in Pirelli and more for the racing department. It's a big achievement, practically 72 titles in around 30 years, 40 years, I think so. It means that practically every year we had a world title, at least one. And now the question is to continue like that, because clearly expectation is always high, more and more. And we are used to. So clearly the goal is just to win.
Yeah, well, we have a graphic of the 72 titles that you've won. And it's actually, 1980, the first title was won by Pirelli.
Yes.
And still going strong. And I was looking at the list of names last year, and there were some years where in 125, 250, and 500, Pirelli won every championship in the same year, which was amazing to think about.
Yes, it's a long story of passion, work, heritage, and that's also part of our strong points when we talk or discuss with the teams, or we decide to run with teams during the next season, for instance, for sure.
Well, look, obviously we've got a lot of fans watching at the moment that be curious to know more about Pirelli and what you do. So what are the main tyres used in MXGP in Pirelli's portfolio? I mean, which ones are the most popular for you?
Usually, one of our targets is to maintain the range with not too many options, because many options create a confusion to the riders, the professional ones, also to the amateurs normally. And we see that most popular, at least in MXGP, the moment are the mid-soft and the soft range. Clearly, we have a little bit wider range with the mid-hard and also with the hard in some cases, but the more popular at the top level at the moment are mid-soft and soft.
Okay.
Well, with such a narrow range in tyre choice, would you say it's an advantage in helping the riders decide which tyre is best for each condition? Because these two tyres pretty much cover all conditions, don't they, really?
Yes, it's, my opinion, a positive point, really strong positive point. Our target, just to make it quite easy, is we are happy when riders forget about tires. So they concentrate to other aspects of the bike, in case with the team, concentrate for the race, and they don't waste time in testing and choosing many tires every weekend, also because they have no time. And in the future, they will have really also less time based on the format of the races.
So just looking at these images here, we've got the MT32 Scorpion, soft, front and rears. Yeah.
Those two tires clearly that are covering biggest part of our needs in terms of top racing at the moment are the two extreme of our needs. Mid-soft that cover as named medium terrain, soil, and the sand that is also usable and every time used also for mud and mixed situation.
Yeah. Okay.
Different sizes, clearly.
Sure.
Okay, well, on top of that, something that I mentioned earlier, there's also the added bonus of Mousse technology. Tell me more about this. How has this helped transform Pirelli's success to the highest level?
When we work on motocross, MXGP field, we know that it's the package of tire and mousse that makes the difference for many riders. You could have also the best tire you could imagine, but without a proper mousse working well with that tire and shaped for that tire, you are not in the best condition to win at the end of the day. Sometimes it's more critical for us to define the right mousse for the rider than the tire itself, because every rider has his driving style, his personal feeling that wants from the front or the rear. And so that's a critical point when we fit the tires by our service normally.
Yeah. Well, can you, sorry, I was going to say, can you give a quick explanation as to what a mousse is? Because I'm sure there are riders around like me who's raced with mousses. We know exactly what they are. But maybe there is a generation of rider coming now that doesn't understand what a mousse is and how it can, obviously we have an image here, so maybe for those who don't quite know.
Yes, mousses are fundamentally a ring of butyl, generally, let's say, with the gas inside, bubble of gas inside. So like that, it looks easy. To produce them is not so easy. With that gas and with that mousse, normally, you can replace the inner tube, and you have the advantage of the puncture, clearly, and because the main risk for the riders is the puncture, because in motocross, we have open field. We are not like in supercross, where you have a stadium, and so whatever is built on is controlled very well. So the first risk to avoid is punctures. Then the rest, in reality, the mousse permits also to manage the pressure, preferred pressure of the rider, because a mousse it's permitted to arrange pressure between 0.8, 1 bar, or 13 psi, just to explain. And some riders prefer a little bit lower, a little bit harder, and And so we can manage the tire pressure preference of the rider through the Mousse management.
Okay. And would a rider, say in MXGP, run the Mousse only on hard pack, or do you find more and more that the riders are running the Mousse in all conditions, also in the sand?
All riders practically are using mousses in any kind of condition, every time. Moreover, to make easier life, because to match mousse with the tire could be another variable and another complex thing to do. We try also to reduce at the minimum the range of the mousses that we propose. Clearly, you need to have a strong range and really suitable for all the conditions, or it's difficult to be capable to propose something like that to the riders.
Sure.
Well, Luca, I see you at the races all the time. Just tell us,
Yes.
how important is the Pirelli racing service to the teams and the riders at an MXGP round?
It's fundamental because at first, and generally talking, at least for the factory teams, they have many rims to fit, and they can prepare all the tires, majority of the tires, ready just since Friday. So from Saturday and Sunday, they just replace in case of needs, but they are ready to race, and in case of any issue, they have all the tires just ready. The service is useful because we have automatic machine, for instance, and the Mousse tire fitment is really much faster than normal, and we can fit many riders. Consider that. Just to make an example, when we have a round, including also European or Women Championship, for instance, or Open, we have around more than 150, 180 riders to support normally.
And what would you say is the biggest benefit, the biggest advantage of providing this service at the races?
First, availability of the stock, because teams can spare space in the trucks to bring something else, spare parts or whatever they need, engines. And so it's useful for them. Second, they are sure that our stock is controlled by us before we reach the circuit. And so they don't risk surprises, Third, they know that our service is professional, and all our guys in the service knows the preferences of the riders in terms of also mousse stiffness.
How difficult is it, would you say, Luca, to manage the racing service that Pirelli offers in terms of, let's say, MXGP now is returning in Latvia. We have 3 GPs in 7 days. And so how will you know, how much product will you transport to the race in terms of mousses, tires, because obviously you've got 3 GPs in 1 week. How will you be sure to have enough product? Who takes control of this? How difficult is that side to manage from a logistical point?
In this case, 3 races in a row, let's say in a couple of weeks, not more. We will use a big trailer to permit us loading at least 1,000 pieces, also more, between tires and mousses. Then clearly, in some cases, due to the fact that Latvia foreseen a sander circuit, let's say that we are quite confident that we don't need many MX32 Miss Soft for the rear. We will probably load more sand. But in case of any issue, we are ready to send directly to the circuit, direct delivery with the more tires or mousses, whatever could happen. Normally, we work like that, in any case.
And obviously for, I guess, riders and teams riding at the highest level, people like, let's say Tim Geiser, because he was world champion last year, Jorge Prado, because he was MX2 world champion last year. From the outside looking in, a lot of riders and the team managers, everybody's always testing, whether it's engines, whether it's brakes, whether it's tires. So for someone like Tim Geiser or Jorge Prado, let's say, when do they do the most testing? Is it mostly during the winter, when they're preparing for the new season, or is this something you're doing constantly with them during the season for more feedback?
Okay, the first normally our priority is, as a testing period, is clearly when they are off for the season. So it's from let's say October, November to February, if they don't race an international event like Internazionale d'Italia, La Chapelle, Austin. And we concentrate our needs in case in that period, because we know that riders are more relaxed in that period. They can concentrate to test, while during the season is more complex because they are concentrated to win races. That's it. Moreover, we know very well that in motocross injuries are unfortunately frequent. We know very well. And so we can't risk also to stop completely the development because we have several riders injured, for instance. Now, this year, it's a particular one we know very well, unfortunately. And so we had the occasion to test also during this last period. But now when we will restart from Latvia, we have to focus to win the championship. So testing, we will check just if we are really in need to do that for the moment.
Okay, and from the endless tests of the MXGP riders, is it possible for a club rider to go into a dealership and buy the exact same tire as the MX2 or MXGP world champion?
Yes, for sure. Probably our slogan, let's say, it's what is what we sell what we race. It's not just a sentence, it's the reality. Because we know that to work in that way, so make products that are sellable to everyone, just with a small delay of mainly due to the logistic, let's say a couple of months, 3 months, it's an added value for everyone. And it takes more time for us to handle this in this way, but everyone recognizes that we are using the same product. The only difference is that perhaps in World Championship, by air freight, we have some tires a little bit earlier. And while the standard rider can buy by his dealer just a couple of months later. That's it.
Okay. Well, it's not only off-road where Pirelli produce tires, is it? It's on-road as well. From a racing side, are you able to share technology between the off-road and on-road departments to improve the tires even further? Does that happen?
Yes. A small example, just smiling, is on my back, because you see that my picture is a road racing tire, moreover. And yes, and how we can do this? First of all,
just 1 second there. We seem to have lost the connection there with Luca, but hopefully we get him back in a few moments. But Lisa, so far so good. You know about mousses now, and that they don't puncture.
Well, it's one of those words, you know, when I knew I was doing the tech talk with Pirelli, you know, it's something that you do hear around the paddock all the time, but not being from the technical side of the sport, I never really knew exactly what it was and how it improved the bike and the tires. But it is good from a journalistic point of view to get an insight on these sort of things. So this is why these tech talks are so useful. Well, for me, because you're a rider, Paul, you know everything there is to know about motocross. So
well, I know 1 or 2 things, but you know tire technology. Yeah. Okay, 2 or 3. But tire technology, you know, obviously over the years, you know, has changed, and hopefully, you know, we can find out a little bit more about that when Luca returns. But in terms of, you know, what I raised a question to him a moment ago, logistically, it is just so difficult to manage, isn't it? You know, we have a flyway at the end of the season where they have to arrange tires to Argentina. You know, they have to fly tires out to service all their riders. They have to continue a race service, even though they don't have their race truck. You've been through the paddock, you know what it's like. They've got a big articulated trailer stacked with more than 1,000 pieces of tires and mousses and things like that for the riders. But what was interesting actually was the fact that he said that even in sand, you know, where there are not so many hard edge bumps, the riders they still encourage the riders, and actually a lot of the riders prefer even to use a Mousse tire in the sand, So, but anyway, Luca is back. He's back with us now. But Luca, we lost you there just a moment ago, and I think it was, in terms of how off-road and road technology can be shared to improve the tire.
Yes, sorry for this technical problem. It happens, and often sometimes. Yes, I was just mentioning you that our mainly that kind of let's say switch between technologies are run at R&D department, where our colleagues sometimes work on car tires, then they are moved to the racing tires, to the road bike tires, and this permits to provide new ideas to everyone, for sure, and perhaps also new mindset on possible new approach to new products.
Okay. Well, look, I know we've got some social media questions getting ready and lined up, but before we ask you those, MXGP season is about to resume, as we said, at the beginning of August, 7, 8, 9 of August, and it's going to be the first of 3 rounds. So far this year, Pirelli leading MX2 World Championship with Tom Vial. He's got 2 race wins. He won the last Grand Prix last time in Holland in the sand. And in MXGP, Pirelli are leading the first 3 positions with Jeffrey Hurlings, Tim Geiser, and Tony Cairoli. So after the first 2 rounds, and actually I think Pirelli have won all 4 races in MXGP. So far so good. It couldn't be any better for you guys, leading both championships and winning 6 out of the 8 races, all 4 in MXGP.
Yes, for sure, it's a good situation, but we know that everything can change very quickly, very well.
Yeah.
What we are really more proud of is that we can support riders of different factory teams and different manufacturers of bikes to play to win the championship. We are not competitive with just one team or one manufacturer. We are competitive with many manufacturers at the same time, with different bikes in different categories, GP, MX2, also European, for instance, in some ways, 250, 125. And so that's the most important thing. Clearly, our target is to win, but we are really happy about that at the moment. Then we will see what will go on, because with so many races in such a short time frame, whatever it happens could drive riders to skip many races. So clearly, it's not easy for everyone, for sure. That's it.
Exactly. Well, we mentioned social media questions. Lisa, how are we doing over there with our online viewers?
We've got a few questions for you, Luca. The first one is from Tom Simpkins, and he says, what is the main difference between a sand tire, a mud tire, and a hard pack tire?
Okay, first, thanks, Tom, for the question. It's a question that many passionate ask us normally. First thing is that we don't have longer a mud tire, let's say, because we have the mid-soft and the scoop tire, let's say, the soft. And with this, we can manage all the different conditions. The main difference is that the sand tires clearly needs a lot of traction, really a lot of traction, mainly if it's heavy rain, mud for rain, and lateral grip normally. With the hard pack tire, normally we are more focused on the general good feeling of the rider and also on the start, because many times you know that in MXGP, many races we have the grid on the start, and that's a critical point for all the riders, because in that moment the tires tend to clearly to slip, and they have to manage it. So we pay attention also to this aspect normally. when we arrange different tires, like in that case.
Okay. Scott Rigdon says, is there any structure difference between a tyre for the 454 stroke, a tyre for the 254 stroke, and a tyre for the 125 two-stroke?
Okay, thanks also to Scott for this question. So mainly, apart the dimension question, because 125 a different dimension, clearly, for sure. The main difference is a little bit the shape, but all the rest, we try to maintain the similar feeling. Also because, and the same structure of the tire itself. Also because our opinion is that young riders racing in 125, for instance, two strokes, sooner or later, if they are fast, they will move to 250 and 450. And if they will continue within Pirelli family, let's say, they need to have the same feeling, so to be very quickly to adapt to the new category. So we try to make this like a sort of chain and to make it easier life for all the riders.
Okay. Luca Ambrosio, is there a test team that develop the tires, or do the riders develop the tires during the races?
Thanks, Luke. I think I suppose he's Italian like me, probably, but I will not answer in Italian. How we develop if we have a test team? Normally, the expectation is that we work top down. So we test with the top riders and then with the privateers or amateurs. In reality, it's not like that, because our target is to arrange always a tire that is easy to handle. So sometimes we work practically in the opposite. We test some new tires with some good riders, good amateur. And then if we see that there are felt some advantages, we go on and propose them later to some test riders, our internal test riders. And then just if we are quite confident, we propose to the teams participating to the World Championships for the final validation. We work in this way because the risk is that if you test with from the opposite side with the top teams, with practically sometimes sort of prototypes bikes, perhaps for them the tire is a big advantage, but perhaps is a big problem for the normal amateur riders to manage it. So we have to pay really attention on that on this process. So we have a small R&D testing department, yes, for sure, but the approach is not so top down, not at all.
Okay, Sarah Hill. How have motocross tires changed during the last decades?
Mainly, our work is to follow the development of the bikes. It's difficult that we propose something to the manufacturer before they don't release the new bike. Normally, it's difficult they give to us too many details of the new bikes. Just to make an example, in this moment, evident is the Team Geyser Honda, for instance. So we try to follow the team request based on the bike development. So in the last decade, the bike development made big jumps, and we follow them. Fundamentally, we follow them. Clearly, sometimes we propose something new, but for the teams with all the data in well known and so on, to propose something completely new could create big problems for them to set up the bike. So we have to pay attention also on this aspect.
Yeah, and I guess from when I raced, and I stopped at the end of 99, beginning of 2000, one of the biggest changes for me looking is the introduction of the scoop tire, you know, for the sand, you know, and this has made a massive difference, hasn't it, for riders riding in deep sand in particular, and maybe even in the mud.
Yes, for sure. I think that was an evolution of the mud range at the time. Finally, you try to find the mud tire and the sand tire, and you discover with the sand tires, at least in Pirelli, you can support also the situation like mud. So in reality, is a sort of evolution, natural evolution of the range. To try to improve the mud tire, you discover that you can arrange a sand tire really performing well in many conditions.
Okay. Well, Moana Bruni says, how important is it to have a specific tire for each type of track conditions?
Thanks, Moana. More than to have a specific tire for each type of track condition, let's say we need to have a tire that adapts very well to many different conditions, tracks. It's completely the opposite, the approach we have. We don't want to be too much sophisticated or dedicated to one track, one bike, one situation. We have to make our tires, Mousses, the package itself altogether, plug and play, easy to use, comfortable, and clearly value for money. That's normal.
Brilliant. Craig Richards, how important are the tires for the best results during the race weekend?
Okay, thanks, Craig. I think that at the really top level, so when you play the game to win the title, the first, let's say at least the first 10 riders, and probably more, okay, because you need to find also that small difference compared to the competitors. And in this case, the package tire Mousse that fit better your bike, and they feel it, be sure they feel it very well, permits you to make the difference between win a race and be second or third, let's say.
Okay. So, me, Harris, what's better to use, a Mousse or a tube?
First of all, a clarification on the Mousse. Mousse is NHS. So first, the Mousse, you can't use it for the road legal use. Okay, in case, for transfer, just to make an example, you can't risk. The Mousse is more progressive than a tube normally. It has a damping effect, a rebound positive effect, technically speaking, very quickly. And the big advantage of Pirelli Mousse is, for instance, that we found mousses that weight are like tubes. That's a really important thing. Then, on my opinion, in motocross, no doubt that you have to use the mousses for the puncture issue also. In other activities, like could be supercross in arena, it could be an option, clearly also the tube, because it's different, completely different, the approach, the jump, the circuit layout, and the tubes has a different positive aspect compared to the Mousse. But there is not one of the both that is good and the other one is worse. No way.
Okay, that's good to know. Low N Singer 211. How long does a motocross tire last on a hard packed surface?
So 2-1, just name the number. It's easier, I think so. 2-1, sorry. And that's the most complicated question because that could be done, because it refers so close to the riding style, the circuit, the moment, suspension is really critical. I have in mind some circuit like Red Sand in Spain, for instance, where many teams go to train during winter time also. And normally we know that the tires are sometimes really destroyed after really not such a long distance. We have some circuit, same rider, same setup, that they can ride 1 day long without any issue. Some amateur could ride 2 days with an MX-32. It's really complex to give you an idea. The only question important, in my opinion, is that whatever is the mileage you can reach, you run,
Oh, I think we just lost him right there at the end. Hopefully we'll get him back in just a moment. But no, interesting to hear Luca Barbetti there from Pirelli just explaining like the differences there. And I know what he means, actually, that last question. How long will a hard pack tire last in hard pack conditions? Because obviously, yes, the power of the bike, the suspension setting, if it's soft and everything pushes through, the weight and how aggressive you are on the power, how hard are the track conditions? Obviously, some riders watching this now, or people that no longer ride, places like Val d'Esarona in San Marino, very, very hard pack track, blue groove track. Tires, even the hard pack tires, used to get destroyed there. Such was the nature of the ground. So, yeah, in answer to the question, there, you know, I understand very much what Luca was saying there. But anyway, it's just one of those situations. But hopefully we get him back in just a moment. If we do, we will be able to say goodbye to him. Because I think, how many, do we have any more questions after that, Lisa?
No, that was actually the last question. Yeah, the last question from Lo Enzinger. But yeah, thank you guys for all of your questions, for sending them in, because just hearing Luca talk about them, it's certainly given me an insight on the technical side of how tires work, how they benefit each rider, because it's not simply use that tire for that condition. It's not. It's so much more to it. So many different factors that play a part, and it's really interesting to find out about it. You know, working in the sport. Yeah, and the guy who asked the question before me, Sonny Me Harris, I actually know him personally, so hopefully, Sonny, Luca answered that question: what's best, a Mousse or a tube? But we do have Luca back. Luca, I think I finished your sentence off for you, just reiterating what you said. You know, how long a hard pack tire lasts, or how much a tire lasts on a hard pack surface. You know, power, suspension, how aggressive the rider is, how hard the surface, and all of those things. But is there anything else you want to add before we leave?
First, thanks for your invitation. Very, very nice, and very also nice experience itself. Good occasion to share our knowledge with many people that normally we can reach directly, or perhaps they can reach us to the circuit, where in any case we're always open to welcome you at the racing service. And for the rest, what to say? All the best to everyone, and clearly we wish everything run well now on, and we can concentrate on racing more than on other issue not so nice to talk about.
Exactly. Well, look, Luca Barbetti, Pirelli Global Racing Manager for the off-road platform, thank you for your time today. Thanks for joining us. And Lisa, first Tech Talk out of the way. How was it for you?
No, it was like I said, certainly very interesting. It's nice to get a different insight into the sport, and also talking to someone who isn't a rider, because it's just a different perspective, isn't it? And it's really, really interesting to know. Yeah.
I know. I mean, I'm no longer classed as a rider, so thanks for that.
You're not. You're a veteran. You're a veteran. So you're a veteran rider. So that counts for something, Paul. That does count for something.
All right. Well, look, do you mind if I thank our viewers for their questions as well that they sent in on social media? Hopefully Luca was able to answer those for you, and once again, thanks to Pirelli, thanks to Luca. Lisa, thank you to you as well, and thanks for watching. We'll see you on Saturday in a few days' time, when Lisa and I will be back with another MXGP virtual studio show. So keep in tune with our social channels to see who the guest will be on Saturday. But in the meantime, from all of us here, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.